Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for choosing to attend this webinar today. My name is Rachel Holdall, and I am a former public educator. Now I represent a mobile learning solution that is called CurriculumLoft. My role in the webinar today is minimal, but I will be giving you a very brief introduction. I will be introducing you to our guest speakers today from the Wawasee School District in the great state of Indiana. And I will be facilitating some question and answer periods throughout the presentation. Before I turn the microphone over to our guests, I want to make sure that you understand, as an attendee, you are in listen-only mode today. There is a question box, however, that is provided for you. So please don't be shy. Type in any questions that you may have as they come up for you through this presentation today. Because remember, I will be requesting a pause periodically to facilitate some question and answer opportunities. Also, please feel free to tweet your thoughts during the presentation and following the presentation to CurriculumLoft using the hashtag #1to1possible. So without much more delay, I'm honored to introduce today Dave VanLue, who is the Technology Director for the Wawasee School District, and also Sarah Harrison, who is not only the French teacher, but the technology trainer for the Wawasee School District.
Well, welcome.
These two educators have generously volunteered their time today to give you a closer look at their district's shift to digital curriculum and to a one-to-one implementation. And they are excited to share with you what they've learned throughout this process, and they're hoping to provide some helpful insight to those of you who might be considering a similar path. With that said, I'm going to go ahead and let Dave and Sarah get started.
Welcome, everyone, and I'd just like to say up front that this is the first time that we've done anything like that, so bear with us as we work with this system here and get things going for you. Now we're ready. Here we go. Well, my name is Dave VanLue, and I'm the Director of Technology here at Wawasee Schools. And with me is Sarah Harrison.
And I'm the French teacher who also works with all the teachers in the corporation to help train them with technology.
And I'd like to just give you a brief agenda of what we'd like to cover, and then we'll be taking some questions at the end of this part of the presentation. First of all, basically why we chose the KUNOs and CurriculumLoft for our one-to-one solution, and then talk about our implementation process and some of the bumps that we had along the way getting started, and then what the future is going to hold. And then after that time, we'll have some questions, and then Sarah will be showing you some things in our CurriculumLoft and some of the things that are really neat about this system. So we were instructed by our superintendent to form a technology focus group and look into the possibility of one-to-one at Wawasee schools. And the reason why was, as we were looking at our mission statement and really what we're trying to do here at Wawasee, we really felt that we need to engage all students, and we need to address 21st century skills, and a very good way to do that is with a one-to-one program. We started visiting schools, we started calling people, we had devices in and we demoed them, we looked at iPads, we looked at laptops, we looked at netbooks, and basically all the things that you've probably been doing and trying to find what's the answer. And it was just, you know, kind of a scary process. Well, late in the spring of 2011, we decided that we were going to go with a laptop. We really felt that it was a very powerful tool. Kids could use it and create things and do all kinds of terrific things with a laptop. However, as Director of Technology, that scared me to death. We've never really had a lot of laptops in our district, and the few that we've had are challenging with certain people to keep going. I was really worried about how we would keep these things charged up and running all day long for students, and just keeping them repaired, because I've had lots of issues with breakage with netbooks and laptops, and how would we control them? What's going to happen when the kids take them home? And so there was just all these worries that I had that just really scared me about the whole process. Getting near retirement age, and it was looking better and better at that point. However, we went and looked at CurriculumLoft, and what we thought about tablets kind of summed up on this slide. We liked the laptops, like I said, because of all of the power that they have, but there are some of the things that we didn't like. The iPad was really a cool instrument, great battery life, had lots of apps, lightweights. However, it was a bit pricey. You can do laptops for the same price almost. Also, the flash-enabled content was not available, and really all you had that you could use with the iPad were whatever apps were available or websites that you could use. The Android tablets, on the other side, had the same features as the iPad. However, they also had the flash, and the cost point on Android tablets was less, but still you were limited with what students could do with that. Well, kind of at that point, then, we saw the CurriculumLoft, and a small group of us had this demoed for us, and it just really changed our whole way of thinking. And we took this back and asked CIM to come in and present to our whole technology focus group, and after that demonstration, everybody was sold that an Android tablet was a solution that we could use here at Wawasee. And the more we learned then about the CurriculumLoft, the more it just all sunk in. The great part about it is with the CurriculumLoft, we were already using a curriculum mapping software and breaking down our standards and putting our content into a system. But with the Loft, we were able to actually be able to sync that to the student's Android tablet. And we would be able to push out apps, and we would be able to regulate those tablets clear down to the fact that when a student would take it home, they would still be being filtered by our Lightspeed filter here at school. All of these things really were important for our community. People were worried about giving their students devices and letting them have free reign on the internet. And with the KUNO tablets and the CurriculumLoft, we're able to manage all of that from one central location. The tablets are locked down so the students can't add their own apps. They can't go to sites that they wouldn't be able to get to at school. We do have email accounts for our students, which we filter with Gaggle, and so those are made. Having some technical difficulties again here. And like I said, everything is all contained in one place. And like I said, that was like a light turned on at the end of the tunnel for us. And I saw a solution that, as a director of technology, that I could manage, and a cost point that I felt that we could afford as a school district by using our TBR accounts to finance this. So some of the other things that just made it sink in as we went along with the CurriculumLoft was, at first we thought a tablet, well, what am I going to do with that? I'm tied down to apps. But we've also found that we can use a remote desktop client, or you can use a virtual desktop client, and log into a server and basically do about anything you could do on a workstation. So we're looking forward to the time when we can even do our high-stakes testing on these tablets. But I have taken my KUNO tablet and run CS5 on it, and it works just fine through that remote desktop client. So the ability to create things are actually here with the tablets also, if you have the right tools to do it. So putting all these pieces together and having it all in one place was a major decision for us. I know that you can do some of these same things by buying this kind of software and that kind of control and that type of thing and locking things down, but that starts to add up to quite a bit. You get the whole package with the CurriculumLoft and the KUNOs, and that's what sold us here at Wawasee.
And once we decided that that was going to be the direction that we went, we also needed to look at how to start training our teachers. So during the summer of 2011, we went ahead and we offered some CurriculumLoft summer trainings. We always host some technology trainings in general, but we went ahead for some of those adventurous teachers. We asked them to come in and attend and learn how to upload material for their classes and how to maneuver through the loft. So when school began, we were able to have some teachers with a little bit of experience going through and others that didn't have any experience. When we adopted the KUNOs for our 9th grade students, we adopted them on a trial basis, but we adopted CurriculumLoft as the tool for all of our teachers to delve into. And as we had said, we had used a different curriculum mapping program before, so we had already started mapping out our curriculum, and being able to do it through the loft with everyone at the same time was really nice. Our goal for this was to have all freshman classes added into the loft by the end of that school year, which was last year, but we had to start training the teachers. For us, we spent quite a few days before school working on mapping out curriculum on paper before we had a majority of the teachers logging into the loft for the high school to start putting those materials in electronically. After we felt that we had enough of our curriculum mapped out, we started showing the teachers different pieces of the loft and how to go in, how to be able to change your password, all of those wonderful small pieces, and then also how to start adding in their curriculum. And once our high school teachers were comfortable going in and adding their curriculum, then we were able to delve out into our other schools and bring the elementaries and our middle schools working into CurriculumLoft also. But our high school teachers were kind of our leaders. And within those teachers, we had asked a few representatives from each department to come forward and to receive a little extra CurriculumLoft training so that they could kind of help their colleagues go through in case they were uncomfortable. And those teachers became our early adopters most often, and they were able to bring some of our reluctant teachers on board so that way they could see the benefit of us sharing curriculum from one teacher to another. And our principal, when he had talked about it, he explained that what we put out in CurriculumLoft isn't just curriculum, but it's a selling point for our class. And as he started explaining it to teachers that we need to be able to show students what's going to happen in our classroom before they sign up so that we can get more students to be able to attend, whether they're students that are in our school that are more apathetic and they're not necessarily looking for classes, but they find some things possibly that we've listed out there of interest, so then they enroll in our class. We have students that migrate through, and so trying to get those students to be able to sign up for classes that most interest them is much easier with that material that's out in the loft. One of the other things that was really good for us was the fact that we no longer had to worry about, well, what happens when a teacher retires and they take all of their curriculum and their knowledge with them. Well, we now have the loft to be able to have teachers put that information in there. And so if a teacher happens to leave the corporation, they don't leave and take their entire course. So the course is no longer structured only around the teacher, it's structured around the curriculum. And so for us, that was a really high selling point for us. In November, we had enough KUNOs in the corporation to be able to distribute those out to our freshman teachers. Because we were going to be rolling these out with our freshman class, we wanted to make sure that our freshman teachers were comfortable using the technology. And so we demonstrated what the tablet could do. We showed them how to be able to power it on. We showed them how to be able to download apps, how to be able to work with those apps, what it looked like when you put something out in the Loft cloud and what it looked like on the tablet. And we wanted to make sure that those teachers were comfortable before we asked them to start using it in their classroom. So we gave each one of them one of the KUNOs that we had and asked them to play with it. Use that as their primary device, not necessarily to create lesson plans, but just for them to start feeling more comfortable as a tool for their classroom. One of our Algebra 1 teachers, he had a KUNO, and he asked one of his students, he said, hey, you know, you're a little bit further ahead than the rest of the class here. Why don't you just work at your own pace? And handed her his KUNO after he had already set up all of the Algebra 1 curriculum. And that student ended up completing early the algebra curriculum. She passed the Indiana ECA without any problems, and she also started a head start on her geometry class for the following year. So she was able to work at her own pace, learn at her own pace, and the teacher was still able to have control over what was available to her. And he was pretty proud of her work ethic for working through, but was also very impressed with the fact that students are willing to learn on their own time. So she took and did some extra work and did some things that he wasn't necessarily seeing in the classroom beforehand. So in January, before we decided to push out all the KUNOs to our freshmen, we needed to train our teachers, all of the teachers in the building, so that they could understand what our expectations were for the KUNOs, for the students who had them in the hall, what they looked like, how to play with them, how to look at them so they weren't fearful of the technology or able to not answer questions from our community members. So during a prep period workshop, all the teachers came in during their prep, and we trained them how to use the KUNOs, what they looked like, how to maneuver within the software, and just gave them some basic ideas of what you could do on the KUNOs and with the KUNOs. And every teacher then was able to maneuver through the wrapper, whether they had a freshman in their class or not. And so on January 16th, we decided to roll these out during our parent-teacher conferences. We contacted all the parents and students prior to parent-teacher conferences, and we told them that if you come with your student, both of them were required, you must have a parent or a legal guardian and a student in order to come in, they were able to attend a training session. Our National Honor Society kids were there that evening to be able to help us distribute the packets. We had already created the packets by putting the KUNOs in the KUNO cover wrapper and then being able to put those with the keyboards and sliding all of that in on the keyboard covers. And so everything was labeled, it was all marked. The National Honor Society kids just asked for names, they picked up the KUNO, they handed it off, And then Dave and I started trainings every 30 minutes for both parents and students to hear the same information. And they had to sign forms. The parents had to agree to what we were going to ask. And we told our parents that if this is not something that you want your student to use, you do not have to sign the form. That is not a problem. We are not trying to push this on you. We decided, talking with administrators and teachers, that we would figure out what to do for those students if that issue arises. But all of our parents signed the form, and we also had a form for our students to agree to. And the form for our students went through, and they had to explain, or they had to agree to making sure that they were using their tablet correctly, that they weren't going to put anything on, and that they were going to take care. Now, we do have a large Hispanic population, so we also translated the form into Spanish. It's the exact same information, but most of our parents signed and students signed on the English side. So by the first day, we had over 200 KUNOs appear for our school. And so all of those KUNOs walked in that Tuesday morning and were attempting to download their content and attempting to access CurriculumLoft. And so that day we had just a few minor problems with that, but CurriculumLoft was on site to be able to help troubleshoot at that point in time, which was a really nice feature. And the teachers knew that these KUNOs were coming in, and so they were prepared for the students to start using the tablets that day. We had teachers that had already put a majority of their coursework together, and so those students were not issued paper textbooks, but instead they were all online, so if a student needed to access something, that they had that ability there. And our principal was pretty impressed when he walked around the building to see all of the teachers with freshmen who had the students out working with the tablets and how engaged the students were while they were working.
Well, that was
No, that's right. That one doesn't have it.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess I want to talk a little bit about some of the bumps we had in the road. It all sounded pretty good up until now, but it wasn't all perfect. First of all, we were expecting to have the tablets for our students back in October of that year, and there were delays, and of course, I was getting a lot of heat from the administration, not so much from the parents. I think they were probably as nervous about it as I was. But we're thinking, well, maybe it's good that they don't have them yet. But as that turned out, it really was a blessing because we had that much more time to work with our staff and prepare them for what was coming, and they had that much more time to get content for their curriculum into the loft, and also to find some free apps and things, because at this point we weren't willing to purchase apps because this was just a trial, and so it really turned out to be a blessing in disguise. And we had such a good turnout at parent-teacher conferences with the tablets. All of it kind of worked in, and just it turned out to be better than we thought. The other big bump in the road was when we did get our devices, we were using the Explore One-to-One, which is what Sarah referred to as the wrapper. It's kind of what locks down the tablet for students and allows them to connect to the CurriculumLoft. We were using version 1.1, and I'll be honest with you, it was quite buggy, and we had some syncing problems because syncing was very slow. And also, when it would see an app out there, even if it didn't, or if it already had the app installed, it would reinstall it again. And so it was taking up a lot of time for kids when they were resyncing their tablets. So with version 1.6 that came out shortly after, all of those problems went away. They got it right that time, And we also had put in a cache server, which allowed us to cache all of that content here in our building, so they weren't having to reach clear out to CIM servers to pull down content, and they just worked like a breeze then. So we were, like I said, there was a lot of frustrations to start with, but we worked our way through it and ended up being very happy with the product and all the support that we got. So we kind of met together with the administrative team, members of our focus group, and we talked about what's next. And overall, we felt that our trial was very successful, and we felt that one-to-one was something that would really help our students here at Wawasee schools. And so in May, the school board approved the purchase of over 1,000 KUNO 3 tablets, and every high school student will receive one. And the KUNO 1 tablets that we had for our freshmen were all being put in mobile carts, which we already had one cart in each building, a cart of 30 for each building to have before, so that the elementaries and middle schools could get used to using them. So now each one of those buildings will have 3 or 4 carts next year. And then we'll take a look at where do we go from there at the lower grade levels. So we're excited about this. Every faculty member at the high school and every student will have a KUNO 3 tablet. And Sarah's been furiously training staff this summer and will continue to do so. And that's the direction that we went. We're very happy with our decision. And it's just been a great decision for us.
Wonderful. Are you able to hear me, Dave?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. So thank you so much for that piece. This is just the very beginning piece of this presentation, but with everything that you said here, we do have quite a handful of some really good questions. So would you and Sarah be ready now for me to ask a handful of questions from some of our
Yes.
attendees today? Okay,
Sure.
excellent. We did have a request, and one of the first requests, I'm wondering if it's okay, please, if you could pull back up the pro and con page from your presentation. We had actually a couple people request to see that page again, so maybe we'll let people view that page while you're answering some questions.
Okay.
All right, so I'll let you pull that back up, and I will start here with some questions. Let's see. It says, let's see, gosh, where do I start? There's so many good ones. One of the questions that people were asking are, what percentage do you think of your teachers at your high school would you say regularly utilize this Wawasee CurriculumLoft Cloud and do the uploading of curriculum? Would you say that people are, what kind of percentage would you maybe give that for participation in that?
Right now it's 100% because it's absolutely mandatory. Not all of our schools are at the same point in putting in curriculum. Some of them are still working on the paper format for laying out their curriculum before they go into and put it in the electronic form. All of the high school teachers have been using CurriculumLoft since the beginning of this past school year.
Our emphasis originally was with our math and science because we did not adopt textbooks for those courses. So this year with our freshman trial, most of the work had been done by our math and science teachers that would have the freshmen in their classes.
Okay, great. Thank you. Another question is, what wireless vendors do you use? Do your district use?
We have a Meraki wireless network that we just finally got in place this year, and that brought some issues too in some corner classrooms and things, and we had to go around. Every device has a different kind of antenna in it, and the testing that we had done, obviously, we didn't have the KUNOs when we did our install, and so we had to move a few access points here and there, and I'm imagining next year with 1,100 of these things in place that we'll probably have to add some access points. But we've been real happy with the Meraki. We have the MR16 access points and the cloud management, and it's been very good.
Okay, great. Thank you. Next question is there a way to manage all of the KUNOs at one time, like say from a cart or remotely with a server? This particular attendee says that they currently are using an Apple configurator for their iPad cart, and they're wondering if there is something similar in their use with these KUNO Android tablets.
Well, actually, the CurriculumLoft, I'm not sure what he's saying by managing, but if we need to push any content out or any kind of updates, we actually do it right through the CurriculumLoft. We can send out not only their course content, but we can send out apps, and I can take a group of students, or I could take the whole student body. I could take a particular class, any kind of grouping you can think of, and we can push applications out to their tablets and updates that way, right through the law.
We can also modify if a student's tablet comes up missing or there's something that's going wrong, we can lock down that tablet so it's not usable by anybody else until it gets returned to the tech area.
Okay, so you can do that remotely is what you're saying, and essentially not a need for any sort of a syncing kind of configurator cart.
Yeah,
right.
we don't need any other tools. Everything that we need is right in the loft.
Okay, fantastic. And that actually, you went ahead and answered the very next question, which was, can the teacher or an admin remotely log a student off of a device if something is going wrong or something is happening? And Sarah, I believe you just answered that, and that answer was yes. Yes,
the admins can. We're anxiously awaiting to see what CurriculumLoft pushes out next for us, to be able to see what we can do as teachers, to be able to give some of those rights. Ideally, what we are looking for is being able to turn off all the Androids in a room and be able to have teachers have that type of access. If they only want them using the web, that they could give them only web access. So we're waiting to see, I mean, those are kind of some of our ideal choices, but we're waiting to see what comes up in the next phase for CurriculumLofts.
Yeah, and talking with the people from CurriculumLoft, that's definitely on their roadmap to have that kind of control that a teacher would have. Just like if you had some kind of lab management software, you would be able to do all of those things with just the KUNOs in your class. Okay, excellent. I'm going to take maybe 2 or 3 more questions, and then I'm going to let you continue on. I know that I am very intrigued to see your Wawasee CurriculumLoft cloud. I know you'd like to spend about 10 minutes showing us what your cloud looks like. So let me just ask a couple more questions, and then we'll move on, and then we'll take a moment again to ask some more questions. So one question is, do your students do their writing on the KUNO device?
Yes. Many of our students really like the keyboard that's on screen, but we also opted to add the external keyboard. So when they put everything together, they can process long papers just like they would regularly with a keyboard, or something that's shorter, they can use the keyboard that's on screen. And a lot of our students have used Google Docs this year to be able to start creating and putting some things together without having to go to the lab.
Okay. All right. And then another question is, are students at your elementary and your middle school level, are they using CurriculumLoft Cloud even without using the KUNO Android device?
At this point, no, because most of our elementary teachers don't have a lot out in the cloud. We've been working on that this summer because trying to get all of the elementaries aligned among the teachers has been our primary focus first for the elementary and middle school. But some of our teachers have taken kids to the cloud via the KUNOs. They haven't necessarily done it in the labs, but our carts are connected with generic usernames, and so we don't push anything out to, we don't push any classes out to those generic users, but they can still log in on a web page and be able to log in and gain access.
Yeah, to kind of explain that, once a student logs into a KUNO tablet, it is locked down to them. No one else could log into that tablet unless, as an administrator, I clear that tablet for someone else to use. So in our carts, we just give them a generic name with a generic login and then manage it by a group. We had a lot of elementary teachers that found apps and things that they wanted to use, and they just loved the music teachers and classroom teachers would find apps or websites that they would want us to push out that would be available for their kids to use and quickly access. That's primarily the way it was used in the elementary schools.
Okay, wonderful. We have so many questions. I love seeing all these questions, and I'm going to attempt to get to even more of them after you spend maybe another 10 minutes or so showing us, kind of walking us through specific parts of your Wawasee Cloud. I think you walking us through that will answer a number of the questions that I'm seeing coming in. So if you would like to head out to the cloud right now, I will be quiet, and I will let you continue and show us a little bit of that maybe for about 10 minutes, and then we'll do a little bit more question and answer period. Does that sound acceptable?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. I will mute myself, and we will I will quiet down now. So go ahead.
So looking at our cloud right now, Dave is logged in, and we're going to wander out to our math area. Our Algebra 1 class was the first class to put as much information out as they possibly had. Our high school has we've moved towards a mastery algebra class so that they've looked and seen what standards are the most important, and those are the standards that our students must master. And before they're able to go on to the next piece of the class, they have to master different standards. And so with that, students are kind of moving at their own pace. It's very hard in a classroom to keep everybody together since they're kind of all moving at their own individual learning styles. So I'm going to log in and look at our Mastery Algebra so you can see our modules that we have going. And if I go into our indicators 1 through 4, we have different easy teach notes. So that's directly what our teachers have on their presenters that they put out for students. You can see the documents that our teachers have put out for the students to be able to download and access. So no longer are teachers having to print off all of this information, but instead they can tell the student it's on your KUNO. And it's nice for our students because they don't lose the paperwork. We haven't had anybody, knock on wood, lose a KUNO yet. And so all of that is stored for them. It syncs everything that's available. So when our students, before they go home, we ask that they make sure that they have synced. So everything that they need for that night is going to be available to them. On here, there's teacher materials that we can share among just teachers, and students can't see that, which is a really nice benefit in the cloud. We have it open for all of our teachers to do editing at the moment, and we will be locking that down so that only the teachers who are assigned those classes are able to do editing. We haven't had any issues with teachers going in and modifying other people's material. But talking, or that one question that was asked was discussed in the admin portal. And we have the ability to see all of our students at once. Whether they're students or teachers, you can see up there that we have a couple of students left in, but primarily we're in teachers. And that's because we have most of our student devices back, and we have wiped them. We put all of our KUNO ones down in carts, so those have not been created yet. It's really easy to either import in data so that you can populate this list, or even be able to turn on LDAP so that it can automatically populate for you. It's one of the greater features that we were able to enjoy rather than having to massage the data and try and put it all in. When we first received the CurriculumLoft was empty. There was nothing on any of this side over here, and so everything that we put there is ours. It belongs to our district. It's not anybody else's material. And so our teachers are the ones that have worked together to be able to put in their curriculum that they use. It's not something that's canned that somebody else has said, well, this is good, this is what you need to use. And so we're able to push our teachers to share that information and taking it away from that mystical, no one knows what the curriculum is until that person leaves, and then you're trying to figure out what's going on. And so that's there for our parents and our students to be able to access and look at. On the admin side also, you can be able to look at just a device. All the devices have a device ID. And so similar to how this one is set up, we can go in and be able to look for just a specific device. And we can delete that device out. We can turn it off so that we have control over it. At the moment, we don't have the ability to send out a message to that student yet, other than through some different apps. So looking at some of the apps that we can do, we can add web links. So everything that we had already put together, such as our Moodle, being able to use Google, different Web 2.0 resources that we had used, we still have the ability to use that through the CurriculumLoft cloud and be able to push those out for students to have access to. And so that's been a really nice feature. Also, with having the light speed filtering on, we can see where students go, and we have the ability to monitor that. Some of our community members and parents were a little concerned, as we had said earlier, about giving students just free access to the internet, to everything that was out there. And with it still running through the school filter, that's not as big of a problem or concern for our parents, because they still have the ability to be able to see what's there. We can push out apps once teachers go through and they find applications that they are interested in. They can request those, and we can push those out for students. And as Dave said, we can do that through groups. We can share it for large quantities of teachers. We can put it just out to the carts. So we've got a nice range of abilities there in while we're trying to manage the apps. Do you have anything?
Just basically, like I said, the thing that we really liked about this is that we can do everything without any other third-party softwares, management kinds of tools that just add more and more to the overall cost of running a one-to-one program. And that's what we like so much about this, at least from my perspective as the guy who's got to come up with the dollars somehow to pay for all these things.
And on the teaching side, because I look at it in both lights, it's really nice on the teaching side, because once I put that material out there, it's going to stay out there. I don't have to worry about it disappearing. I don't have to worry about whether my kids are going to have OpenOffice, because we use OpenOffice on our computers, whether they have that at home to be able to process documents if they're working at home. All of that is now on their KUNO, so that's going to be their go-to application usage for that. So that's been a really nice piece. And we'll go ahead and we'll take some more questions if you've got more.
Excellent. I sure do. I have a whole ton of questions. What I will preface this with is we'll do a handful more question and answer period here, and I want to make sure the whole audience knows that they will have other ways to get a hold of you, and I will put that out there for them so that they know they can continue a discussion with you via email and things like that. So let's get to a few more questions. Let's see. One of the questions here is, how often do you choose to sync these devices? Is it automated? And do you collect these devices in order to sync them, or is it done remotely? And can you tell us a little bit about that?
It's all done remotely, and you actually go into your server settings, and you can set up how often you want the syncs to occur. And actually, on this page that I think you're seeing right now, you can see that it's updating every 15 minutes. you'll probably want to stretch that out after your initial setup because it's not necessary to do it that often. But students also, and I unfortunately don't have a way to show you the wrapper that they have or the Explore One-to-One, but they have the ability at any time to force async on their tablet. So if the teacher had just before class sent something out and she wanted them to have that during class, they log into the tablet and there's a button that they push, a menu comes up and it says sync, and they can begin to sync their tablets right then. But it's all automated. You don't have to bring tablets in to do any of that. You can even update the application that is the CurriculumLoft application. When we went from 1.1 to 1.6, we put that out there, and it was pushed out to all the tablets. We did not have to bring the tablets back in and re-image them or anything like that to do that.
The only thing we had to do at that point in time was show teachers what to do so that they weren't scared.
Yeah.
And so we put together some videos for teachers to be able to go through and show their first hour class so that all the students were able to do that at once.
Okay, thank you. Do you have any issues or problems with teachers just trying to put too much information onto the actual device itself? Have you run into those kinds of problems where teachers just go crazy and have just put too much information to that device all at one time?
We haven't at this point because, again, most of the content and things that were out there were primarily in the science and math areas, and we've just not had that experience yet where we've had so many people actually putting content out there, and so I can't answer that whether or not that's going to be a problem. I think as we get into this and people really see what's going to be useful when they're with their kids and what they're using in class, I think they'll kind of teach themselves what's appropriate to put out there and what's not appropriate. But what they put out there is kind of a function of the loft, which I don't know what the limitations are on storage and things like that. We do know the specs on the tablet, but I mean, when you think about the size of a document or something, that's not going to take up much space.
And students do have the ability, if their processing gets full on the KUNO itself, they can move it. We opted to add the additional SD cards to them, and so for a majority of the programs that are on there, the students can opt to be able to move those over. They can't remove the primary software, that wrapper for CurriculumLoft, that stays on their tablet.
Okay. All right. Do the students, to you, appear to be more engaged now that they are using a tablet, not so much as just a flashy piece of hardware, but something really, truly to help their learning?
As I had said earlier, we did have some of our students picking up and learning at their own pace, working through things, trying to go through and explore. Quite a few of our kids, we had pushed out a flashcard app, and they were so impressed by the fact that, oh, they created this flashcard activity and they passed their biology vocabulary test. But they didn't think that they passed the biology vocabulary test because of the flashcards. They just thought it was really cool that they passed the biology test and they did flashcards.
One of the things that we're going to be doing is make these tablets not just about CurriculumLoft. I'm trying to think of all the ways. In fact, I started a little forum on Learning Connection. If you're in Learning Connection, you can join the CurriculumLoft community for Indiana. But it's 50 ways to use your KUNO. And there's the obvious ones, of course, but I'm trying to think of every reason why a student would want to bring that KUNO to school every day. Because you know everybody's got kids that never bring their books, never bring their materials to class. So, I mean, we're talking about putting our announcements on them. We're talking about not making kids buy calculators anymore because there's free apps out there for scientific and graphing calculators. We're just trying to think of every single thing that that the students could use this tablet for, and then ensure that teachers, even if they weren't going to do an activity on their tablet in their class that day, the student might still need to bring it to do something. So even if a teacher doesn't have all their content up or have every single day is going to be a KUNO tablet day, there might still be a reason why that student would need that tablet in that class.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. Great. There seem to be a handful of questions around two topics. So let me put them both out there for you, and then you can answer them in either order. And then I want to pull up a screen so that people know how they can get further information, because I can just tell you from this question list, it is awesome and it is huge. So I will not possibly be able to get to all of them, but I want people to know how they can get these questions answered. So a couple of things that are really coming up here is professional development. So a number of questions on the topic of professional development for your teachers. I think people are seeing how important that is as a part of this implementation process. That is one topic. And then another topic is questions about your bandwidth. How many kids are using this, and what is your internal and your internet bandwidth? So these have come up multiple times.
Okay. For the professional development side of it, this past year we had talked to school board, not because of this, but for some of the things that we wanted to do in general, with doing a late start on Wednesdays, so our students come to school a half an hour later, which gives us an hour first thing in the morning to be able to work with our teachers. We had created quite a few different times where we were working directly on CurriculumLoft. I and those handful of teachers were able to bounce around and help some of our other teachers understand how to use it, how to be able to put material together. But not just that, not just working with the software, but getting teachers to think about the curriculum that they may have been teaching the same way for the past, we'll go 20 or so years, and realizing that there's different ways to engage our students. And that was already a conversation that we had started from the year before for our professional development, and it kind of carried in and blended nicely into this conversation. So as a school, we have been working on trying to make sure that the professional development is open and available for our teachers. We've got quite a few different programs that they can go into to be able to look at so that they can feel more comfortable. We've put up web pages with different tutorials and videos to go through so that they can kind of work through at their own pace as they have a question. But that has been very key. And for those teachers that have been very reluctant, that has been the hardest part for them to accept, is the fact that they're needing to change and modify what they've always done.
As far as the bandwidth issues, right now we have a full 45 meg DS3 at our high school, and we share that through our corporation with gigabit fiber connections with all our buildings. Is this going to be enough for 1,100 tablets? I can't answer that at this point. What I did do, though, was I filed to be able, with the USF, to be able to double our bandwidth. And so we can do that at any time as we see the need. We felt that we wanted to wait. We were not pushing that 45 with what we were doing last year. And so we wanted to really wait and see what kind of impact this was going to have before we made that investment. I would have felt a lot better. This is one of the things that I kind of feel is hanging over my head. I would have felt a lot better if we'd gone ahead and bumped to 60 at this point to start the year. But we have that option at any time, and it's basically a phone call to our provider and some changes, and it could happen pretty quickly if we need to.
Great, thank you for that. So I want to be very respectful of your time and everyone else's time. We have a few minutes remaining. I am going to put up a slide next. So I'm going to change the presenter quickly, and I'm going to take that back to me. So your screen will no longer be viewable, but I want people to see the screen I'm going to pull up here.
And we have, just as a heads up to people that are listening, we have fielded questions from Washington, Minnesota, so it's not something that we're not willing to do.
Excellent. Excellent. Okay. I'm going to pull this full screen. I want people to see this last slide. I am going to leave this slide up for the remainder of this question and answer period. Really quickly, I just want to touch on a couple points here, and then I will have a couple more questions, and then we'll say our thank yous and our goodbyes. But as we wrap up, if you take a look at the slide that you're seeing in front of you, there are a few ways that you can connect with both Dave and Sarah after this webinar has finished today. They have offered to share their phone numbers. They have offered to share their email so that you may contact them that way. They also will be posting about their experiences on their district Facebook page. So be sure to follow them there. You can see the Facebook tag right over here and how you might be able to follow them on Facebook. So they will sort of continue to post little things as they go through their implementation process on Facebook. And for those of you that are actually from Indiana, there are a couple of additional options for you. And they are willing, Dave and Sarah both are willing to continue to share about their implementation process at what is called the Learning Connection website. And this is a state website. So if you are currently in the state of Indiana, you may have access to that information. And also, they have hosted group field trips in the past for local groups. And they will allow groups to come in and watch the students and watch the teachers interact with this new technology. The request, of course, though, is that CurriculumLoft helps in setting this up and scheduling with them. So you can see down here in the bottom of this particular slide, that there is a contact at CurriculumLoft to help schedule a group field trip if that's something that you are interested today. One other thing I want to make certain that you all know, and this question came up multiple times throughout this presentation, is that this presentation was recorded today, and it's actually continuing to be recorded right now. You will get a follow-up email today. Every single person will get a follow-up email, and in that email, you may be able to, through the link that it sends you, you may be able to rewatch this at any time. So this is recorded for you. So with that said, I do want to take just these last couple of remaining minutes here, and I would love to get to a couple of more questions. Is there anything else before I ask the last few questions, Dave or Sarah, maybe that I missed in closing there?
Well, I just want to say about contacting us, the best way to get a hold of me is email, because I'm out of my office quite frequently at meetings and things. So I appreciate email better, because then I don't miss things. It's hard for me to get all phone calls returned.
I agree with Dave, especially this summer. I'm still running technology trainings 8 to 4 every day this summer, so I'm not as easily available. And so getting an email is something that's a little bit easier to walk through. But I'm more than willing to be able to contact people afterwards if needed, if we can't get together through email.
Okay, great. Thank you for clarifying that. Someone did miss, did you say on your bandwidth, Dave, did you say 60 Mbps? Is that what you said?
45. It's a DS3. 45. It's, well, technically 44 point something, but it's 44 megabits per second, yes.
Okay, 44 megabits per second. Okay, perfect. All right, that was a quick little question there. Are you looking at electronic textbooks? Are you looking at e-textbooks? Have you gone down that road at all?
No. And one of the reasons that we're not looking at any e-textbooks is because that textbook costs almost the exact same amount as getting a paper textbook. And the companies aren't making them interactive. They're not engaging the students any better than what the paper textbook does. We have looked at some different websites like LiveBinder and some other things, along with some of the websites that offer their open curriculum. And we have pulled some things out from there, but a majority of what we're moving towards is allowing the teachers to be able to create that knowledge and that thirst in their students and be able to have the students explore through to be able to quench that.
We want to be able to keep our textbook rental down to a minimum, and we are able to charge through textbook rental for the device a fourth of the cost per year, so we can break it down over 4 years, and that's kind of what we hope that the life of the tablets will be for us. And so we don't want to purchase a lot of extra stuff. Any resources that we can create or find for free, those are the kinds of things we're focusing on. I know there's a few apps out there that we're already looking at how we can purchase those, but primarily we would like to to create our own and use as many of the free web resources that are available as possible. We even have some I have a teacher already, actually a guidance counselor, that created their own app for their department, so students can just go in, open that app, click on different buttons, and get information that they need from the guidance department. So we're hoping to develop a lot of our own applications also.
And I'm going to interject because I just got an email. One of the ways that you can access some of the different documents and things that we've shared and sent home with our parents is if you go to wawasee.k12.in.us and navigate down through schools and go to the high school, there is a KUNO or a one-to-one link that's on the high school homepage. So you'll be able to access all of that material there if that's something that you are interested in.
Excellent, and I'm glad you said that because there are many people that have asked that very same question, and my response privately to them was, I will inquire. So,
and we'll probably be updating those things. You know, that was our first round, and as we get ready for our distribution this fall, we'll keep those things out there so that they're available for people.
Thank you. That's wonderful. I know we've just turned over the clock here. I do want to do this one last question. I think this is so important for people to understand. So I would like to ask one final question, and then we'll say our goodbyes for now. So the final question is, can students access CurriculumLoft if the KUNO is not implemented in all of the classes? Can all of the students still reach the loft on a computer at school or at home?
Yes. Yes, every student, we LDAP them in, and every student has an account created in the CurriculumLoft.
So regardless of whether or not there's an actual KUNO implemented for every single student is still a part of this CurriculumLoft and can access it from other web-enabled devices.
Yes.
Fantastic. I knew the answer to that, but I just wanted you to say it out loud because I do think it's really important for people to understand that it is accessible to all of the kids in the district. So with that, I've said before, and we truly have so many questions. So I really believe, Dave and Sarah, that you are going to have some emails coming in of people just wanting, they're very interested in just wanting some other information from you. So I cannot thank you enough for being here today. I learned a lot from just listening to your experiences, and I know that all the other hundreds of folks we have on this webinar today have learned a lot as well. So thank you very, very much for your time today.
You're welcome.
We appreciate everyone's interest, and everyone have a wonderful day, and we're going to go back to our next meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, you got it. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great day.